tensions have been so high. Like, I absolutely think it's the right thing because this is still a family, and you've got kids.
Here's the problem. I'm apologizing for everything that I can, but I will never trust them again. I'm not interested in being their friends.
Have they come to the point where they're good with you hanging out and having Robyn part of it? Robyn's your wife.
To my knowledge, she doesn't exist to them.
You're here with me where you wanna be at the algorithm. Just you and me.
This season, we've been seeing a lot of scenes with the Brown family friends, people that they are imparting their wisdom to, people who are asking questions about, tell me how you feel about your relationships with Kody, Robyn, or the OG3. Please, oh, tell me, even though I've been your best friend for years. The funny thing is, and let me be the first person to express this, if you haven't heard it from anywhere else, okay? My opinion is simply this. The friends are what some would refer to as plants. I'm not saying that they've never had relationships with the people that they're interacting with. Like, I'm not saying Brian isn't friends with Cody, or Janelle isn't friends with the lady she went down to New Orleans with, or best friend Jen isn't actually Meri's friend. What I'm saying is, I think that the friends are put in place to provide the internal thought or dialogue availability for the cast members. Like, for instance, if this was a play, the friends would be the soliloquy, the scene where in Hamlet, to be or not to be. That is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. That part of that dialogue that Hamlet gives is his internal thoughts, what's going on. Because if you're watching a play, you don't know what this guy's thinking about. So they have to give you some kind of dialogue so that you as the audience member knows what's going on with these particular characters. And it helps to frame it out. In more normal parlance or movie or television show, this would be the voiceover. What am I going to do? I don't really get along with Christine, Meri, or Janelle anymore. I'm so angry. Oh, wow. I wish I had a sandwich. Bologna sandwich, because this is all bologna. I like bologna with mustard. Like, that would be basically Cody's internal thought process. But because this is a show and they're trying to shape out a narrative, they're giving them the opportunity to be able to talk out their narratives with these individuals. And that's what we see in the friend group. Now, I will say this. What they choose to talk about and how they choose to talk about it, I don't think that they necessarily handed them a script. They may have a guideline as to what they're supposed to talk about. Clearly, Cody has intentions and motivations of the things that he wants to get out and things that he wants to have said. So he comes in with the idea of, oh, I'm going to have Brian come over and he's going to ask me a bunch of questions. And that's the clear giveaway. Because how many times have you been sitting with your friends and they basically do a 60-minute interview with you about your relationship? Your friends already know where you are with your relationships. They might ask you pointed questions like, hey, this new thing has happened. What do you think about it? But they don't ask you questions. Wow, you guys have been together forever. The family isn't really getting along. What did the family think about Robyn, Cody? I mean, the OG3. I mean, what is Christine, Meri, and Janelle? He'll call them the X's. He'll call them what they would probably call them, those B's or whatever little slur name they have for them between the two of them. But the way that they're officially asking these questions throughout this season, it's all been interviews, right? But what they choose to talk about and how they choose to talk about it, I look at it like this. You can tell a lot by how they set things up and because they're setting this up and what they think sounds good. That shows you their values, right? And right now, to be honest with you, Brian, as far as I'm concerned, trash friend on the show. I don't know how he is in person. Maybe him and Cody have like this deep bond or whatever. Brian is that ride or die dude, down bro, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. But as far as the show is concerned, Brian comes off like a trash ass friend. Why? Because it seems like whether it's Brian or Nathan or Robyn, Kody surrounds himself with enablers, people who are going to tell him that he's doing the right thing no matter what he's doing. He doesn't have anybody in his life who's going to hard check him and say, bro, you messing up. You know, that one friend when you're married and you go out with your buddy and you're at the bar, the club, or the bingo night or whatever, and a young lady spending too much time talking to you and y'all flirting too much. That one friend is say, yo, man, what's going on? What are you doing? You good? Let's get on out of here. Let's go on home, or let's go to get something to eat or whatever. That friend is trying to, recognizing where the night is going, and he's trying to keep your ass married. That friend, the one that's trying to keep you from ruining your life. See, that's a friend, not the guy who, bros before hoes. You go ahead, man, do your thing. I'm gonna give you an alibi. Just have your lady call me if she's curious. Just tell her you spent the night over at my place. That's not your friend. And the guy who's sitting there listening to you tell stories. Oh, I went out and I apologized, and I wanted to recognize that there was a lot of tension in the family and between me and these ladies. So I went out and apologized. And he asks questions that like, oh, the tensions between the family are still high, but you guys are still a family though, and you got to try to work stuff out. Now that's walking down the lane of a good idea for you to express that you guys have to be adults. You guys have kids together. Right now, you don't even really have kids together. You have adult children. You have adult children. And you should guys, because you have adult children, you guys should at least have the maturity to be able to function and interact with each other on some level in honor of your adult children. So if they have events or activities, birth of children, getting married, divorce parties, whatever the case may be, you should be able to show up to those things without creating a big scene or creating drama or turning whatever event that they invited you to into something where it becomes a spectacle about you and your ex and you guys having an argument or discussion, right? Being adults. So that's where Kody's friend is trying to lead him. And he's asking Kody, you guys are still a family. So it's great that you went down and apologized. He didn't ask him, what is he apologizing for? What do you feel like you did wrong? What do you think you're going to get out of apologizing? What are you trying to give to them? Why are you apologizing? None of that. And that's how you know that this shit is a setup, and or he has extremely shallow ass friends. The next part is that in spite of him asking that, talking about like, you guys got to work it out as a family, Kody comes back and says all this bull stuff. I'll roll a clip. But Kody comes back and runs the bull stuff about how Kody can't ever trust him. He'll go apologize to him, but he can't trust him. He can't be around him. So the question is, how are you apologizing to him? What are you sorry for? If you're sitting there saying that you're betrayed, you don't feel like you can trust them, you don't want to deal with them anymore, what's the point of the apology? And of course, we have suspicions, and I'm going to give a whole breakdown on why I think Kody apologized and what I think he's going to get out of it, whether I think it's successful or not. I'm going to do that in another video. But right after him saying, I can't hang out with them because I don't trust them, dodo ass Brian looks him in the face and say, well, what about Robyn? I mean, that is your wife. Have they learned to accept her? And can she come along? Stupid. If he said he can't hang out with them, then what makes you think the wives have accepted Robyn? If they can't accept him and they don't have a relationship with him, why would they have a relationship with his wife? Especially if they, the ex-wives, the OG3, see his current wife, Robyn, as partial, as part and partial, or in toto, the reason why they broke up, their relationships broke up. According to Kody, they blame Robyn because they jealous and they haters. So if that's the case, why would they have independent relationships with Robyn? And you're saying you can't even have relationships with them. It makes no sense. And that's the whole like weird, like when I heard that just like I checked right out. because it didn't make sense. You're not listening to what he's saying. And even in the fact of you guys are asking questions like you're on 60 Minutes and you're doing this interview as style interaction between Kody and Brian, even though you guys are doing that, when he's asking a question, he's following the script or at least the plot points that you guys have laid out so specifically. He's not even listening to your answers at this point. Because the whole purpose of him asking about Robyn is to make Robyn the victim. Oh, poor Robyn. This is another example of how the OG3 are beating up on her and bullying her because they don't want her around. Well, guess what? They don't have to have her around. The wives, the OG3, don't have kids with Robyn. Now, one of them made a child with Robyn. Robyn is your wife. That is your responsibility, your business. That has nothing to do with them. They don't owe her that. They don't owe Robyn a relationship. So the fact that you keep dragging her into it, first things first. If I'm sitting in a room and I'm amongst this friend group, I don't know why I would be there. There would be plenty of like liquid libations flowing in order for me to sit in this room. But if I'm sitting there, my question would be, well, instead of us jumping to the end, why don't we take it step by step? Why don't you start trying to build a relationship with these women before you try to drag Robyn into it or drag your wife into it? Why don't you start trying to build a relationship back with your kids before you insist that they have a relationship with your wife and insist that they have to do things your way, my way, or no way, or hit the highway because this is the way I want it? You are the primary relationship. If either they have a relationship with you and through you potentially have a acceptance relationship with Robyn, or they absolutely don't have a relationship with you and they absolutely positively don't have a relationship with Robyn, because why would they? That's the part that I think that like nobody seems to be willing to vocalize, because they're still living in this like fantasy that, oh, she was a mother and she was the equal wife and we were all one big family. You weren't. Because at the same time you guys make that argument that you were one big happy family and everything was equal and you guys were all in it together and she was just as much a mom in this family as Christine and Janelle and Meri. She was just as much a mom to their kids as they were theoretically to her kids, even though she doesn't let any of the OG3 talk to her kids or deal with her kids because she's protecting them. Even though you guys claim that none of the OG3 or the OG13 accepted either Robyn or her kids ever. So how in the world could she potentially be another mother in the family if they never accepted her? If they always pushed her out? If she's been a victim the whole time, she doesn't have an expectation that she's part of the family. And that begs the question, if that's the case, why would they try to build a relationship with Robyn before they build a relationship with Kody? They have kids with Kody. They don't have kids with Robyn. Right? That's the first part. The second part is Robyn is getting herself, trying to interject herself, and Cody's demanding that they have this relationship with Robyn. And even the friend now is trying to push this notion that Robyn should be accepted. There are different levels of acceptance. There are different levels of acceptance. For instance, the OG3 could accept that Robyn is going to be at weddings, funerals, as we've seen, events, baptisms, births, things of that nature. She's going to be there because this is Cody's wife, this is Cody's partner. But that doesn't mean y'all all got to be friends. It means that you guys, when you come together, you can say hi. Hey, how you doing? How's everything? Oh, okay, great. How are the kids? Oh, they're great. Awesome. You look lovely. Oh, thank you. Yeah, just something I threw on. Thank you very much. Well, you have a lovely evening. Talk to you later. That's all it has to be. It doesn't have to be, oh, you guys have to fully accept her and appreciate the fact that she sacrificed so much and she's the savior of the Brown family. And you guys hurt her feelings because she's the savior on high and she's a wonderful woman. That's not their job. And Cody needs a friend or somebody in his life to say that. That's not the OG3's job to make your wife feel like she's a wife. That's your job. That's Cody's job to make Robyn feel like she's special and she's his wife and his lady and a part of the family. That's not the OG3's job. They didn't sign up for it. They'd be fools if they did. The last part that I wanted to talk about was kind of how Cody is regarding Meri, because he drags Meri in. I'm going to do a separate video about the whole allegation of Janelle and how she did Meri and all that with Kody Pass. But the one thing I appreciate about Meri, Cody tells the story that, oh, we were having such a great relationship because me and Nathan dropped off her stuff and moved her from Arizona to Parowan, and we had this great time. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there was problems again. Even though they're doing like an interview style interaction between Brian and Cody, Brian never asked why. What do you think happened? Why do you think all of a sudden she got mad? Why do you think all of a sudden she became different? Because this feeds into a notion that I've seen before in male friend groups. It's the notion that everything is fine. All of a sudden something happens, and for some reason, she's completely crazy. He's dealing with a lunatic now. And nobody ever asked, well, what did you do? What happened that made her act like this? Why is she busting all your windows out, putting you up on flats every 2 weeks? Every time you go outside the house, all your windows in your car busted out, your paint scratched to hell, and your car's up on bricks. Why is that? She keep taking your tires. What happened? Oh, because, she's just crazy, bro. She crazy? Oh, well, is she crazy because she's a Looney Tune? Or is she crazy because you emptied out a bank account, slept with a friend and a mama, and then you turn around and gave her a STD? Is that why she's doing it? Or is it because she's just out of her mind? Right? Because sometimes it's column A. You done did something, and that's why she's retaliating. Meri, you treated Meri a certain kind of way, and to Meri's credit, and this is actually like these last few episodes, thumbs up on you, Meri, because Meri is starting to demonstrate some things we haven't seen from Meri in the past, or at least been illustrated on the show in the past. Meri said that the reason why we're not getting along is because I'm not going to allow him to mess over me no more. I'm not going to be his doormat. I'm not just going to let him do whatever he wants to do and I just go along with it. I'm sticking up for myself. I'm standing up for me. I'm drawing healthy boundaries, and I'm keeping him from doing whatever he wants to do. And of course, because you do a relationship for 20, 30 years where he gets to do you however he wants to do you, now all of a sudden when you stand up for yourself, it's a full-on problem. And that's what Meri is encountering. It's a full-on problem because the second she starts giving him some pushback, then all of a sudden she's disagreeable and she's crazy because she's acting out of the norm that he's used to. And good on Meri for doing that. Then last but not least, Brian turns around and say, ask the question again. Okay, asking questions. Like this is the interview. Is there a time when a family can come together? And Cody's sitting there grinning like a used car salesman who just sold a lemon to the church. is riding around unhoused people. He acting like he just did the greatest thing ever. Oh, I just pulled off the greatest cape ever because I'm gonna keep it to myself. My Mephisto secrets. The whole thing is flat out. Unless you get to a point where you can start recognizing the needs, the pain, and appreciate the individuality of the individuals that you've been dealing with and the specialness of those relationships and why those relationships are important to you, and you take note of that these relationships are important to me. I want to salvage them. I want them to blossom. I want them to grow. I want them to get better. Until you do that, you're never going to have a relationship with them, and you're not going to come together. I do offer one caveat, though. Much like this apology tour, the one caveat is until TLC starts to stroke out some checks. That's when they're going to come together as a family. because somewhere down the line, it's my belief that TLC decided that a spinoff will not work for this show. So they're trying to lump the family all back together again. They're globbing them back together again. And it's unnatural. It doesn't feel well. And it doesn't make sense because of where they are, the animosity that they have, the hurt and pain that they're still carrying, the dislike for one another. There's no point in them trying to come back together, because if this is one of those situations where if you try to force people back together too soon and they're not ready, the only thing that's going to happen is it's going to blow up wider and be more painful. And the division that they have is going to become too great. And you can end up creating a situation where they'll never be able to get back together. That's my take on the Brian Cody friendship talk. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hype the video. Hype the video. That's my take. I'm James, and this has been my take on reality, and I'm out.
'Cause I've been living life